Today, I will be ranking every Cole set to ever exist, but before I start, I need to lay out some rules. First off, TV show portrayal will not matter. I am doing this for two reasons. First off, some sets get way more screen time than others, and secondly, some sets look completely different in the show compared to real life. For example, take the Firestone Mech, which is very clearly a Cole Mech in the show, but clearly a Kai Mech as a set. And yes, that means the Firestone Mech will not be a part of this list. Although, if you insist, I rank it at last because I firmly believe it's a Kai set and not a Cole set. The next rule is that price will not matter. This is because some sets are either a part of a larger set, and including price wouldn't be fair because it puts things like Cole's Mech from the Thunder Raider at a huge disadvantage compared to other sets. So with those rules established, let's get started. I debated on even considering this as a Cole set, but I decided to throw it on the list. This dragon is a solid build, but my biggest problem with it is that it doesn't really look like anything Cole related. It does have a nice earthy look to it, but to me it doesn't have anything that screams Cole, but rather just a dragon that represents the earth element as a whole. Next up is this double driller thing from the Ultra Combo Mech. Don't get me wrong, this is good for what it is, and I do like the double drills. Unfortunately, this only looks good from the front, with the back looking incomplete, making it hard to compete against any of the other sets on this list. Cole's Dragon Cruiser is probably the worst crystallized set. The biggest problem with this set is how incomplete it looks. The entire back and side are very exposed and look incomplete. Additionally, this set would be better had it used more black or brown instead of orange. While the function idea is good, I found that the function itself doesn't work that well. There are some strong parts about this set. The blades look really nice, along with the windshield and the front. I also have it set up in a way that I think makes it look the most complete. However, I still view it as one of the weakest Cole sets. Cole's Earth Dragon Evo is probably the best looking Evo dragon. I really like the design of the dragon and how it looks. Unfortunately, the lack of articulation is what keeps this low on my list. My biggest gripe is that it has no neck articulation, which is a big no for me. There are other ways it's limited in articulation as well, like the feet, but the neck articulation is what keeps this from being at least a couple spots higher. Cole's Dragon from Skybound is one of Cole's smallest sets, and it's actually pretty decent for what it is. It uses a ton of mixel ball joints, which gives it a ton of options for posability. My biggest gripe, however, is the fact that they left exposed studs on the wings. Would it really have been that difficult to cover it up with a 1x2 tile? Otherwise, this is a decent little dragon. Nostalgia has made me rank this set pretty high. Definitely maybe a little higher than it ought to be, but I can't help but love the original Cole's Mech from the Thunder Raider. As a Bionicle and Hero Factory fan, I love the use of the CCBS parts, but the reality is, this mech is pretty small, skinny, and not that great, so I can't justify putting it any higher than this. The original Earth Driller has always been a pretty weak set in my opinion. The reason I don't like this set is because it's simply too small. After the end of the windshield, it just abruptly stops while the front has an engine and a huge drill. Additionally, it doesn't look that good on the side, with technicals being visible, along with a random red piece being visible. That being said, the function is good, which makes it a set that's fun to play with, just not a set that's good for display. Cole's Dirt Bike, while being another generic Ninjago bike set, does have some decent parts to it. The bike is actually really good looking, using rock pieces to give it a nice stone design. It uses treads for the front wheel, which helps create an upward angle in the front. Even the stud shooters blend in with the bike. However, it's still a generic bike set that lacks anything that is notably unique. I think the only reason I have the blaster bike over the dirt bike is because the stud shooters are better. The bike itself looks worse than the dirt bike, but still looks pretty good, especially the windshield. The double stud shooters are what really makes this bike special. Being able to shoot 12 studs is better than shooting 2. They also blend in pretty well in both the lower and upper position. So while the dirt bike might be a better display piece, I'd rather settle for this bike, which isn't that much worse looking, but has a way better function. The Earth Dragon Defense is still the biggest Earth Dragon we have ever received, which is honestly super sad. Come on, LEGO. The molded head is by far the best of the original heads. It also is the first dragon to have waist articulation and a tail whipping function, and in general, it does a good job catching that earthy feel that we have seen throughout Ninjago. The back legs do look a little weird though, sticking up a little higher than the rest of the back. They're also fixed in place, which was probably done to make it easier to whip the tail around, but is something we would never see in a Ninjago dragon today. The Rock Rotor is a fun set to me. Although it is a generic car set, it does have some good stuff to it, like suspension and a detachable jet. It also has enough space to fit 2 minifigures in the cockpit, which is nice but not necessary. The front does look a little weird, but you can add a little drill to it, which makes it look a little bit better. It also only has brown on the detachable jet, which makes it stick out a little bit. When the Tretacelt first came out, I feel like it was overhated because of the terrible Fangpire sign. While yes, that gimmick really isn't any good, I will say that the idea was brilliant. Additionally, the blade popping function is good and gives the vehicle a unique look that I think no other Cole set has captured. Additionally, I think the vehicle looks good with the blades out or in, just don't flip it over to this ugly serpentine side. Entering the top 5 is the Legacy Cole Mech from the Thunder Raider. This is the precursor to the modern Ninjago mech in my opinion. It has kind of weird legs, but they worked really well and had knee articulation. I think the weakest part of this was by far the arms, which look a little weird and could sometimes be a little difficult to angle in specific ways. The original Boulder Blaster still holds up to this day. It's got a nice overall look and an awesome function with the ability to fire all the spring-loaded shooters. The only issue I ever had with this set was accidentally firing some of the spring-loaded shooters, but I'm sure everyone experienced that. Unfortunately, due to the age of this set, it doesn't really hold up to the final 3 sets on this list. The Legacy Earth Driller is definitely a step ahead of the Boulder Blaster. So much so that I'd say it's closer to the same level as the number 1 set on this list. This fixes pretty much every flaw that the original Earth Driller had, not only beefing up the sides, but actually adding stuff to the back to give it a nice complete look. Additionally, the front of the drill is a lot bigger, and the rest of the set does a good job complementing that huge drill. The best part about this set has to be the windshield piece. Not only does it have to be massive because the driller fits 2 minifigures, but it also has beautiful printing on both the top and the side. Lastly, while this has no influence on the list, I just have to mention the totally awesome giant stone warrior. Cole's Quake Mech is not only Cole's largest set, but it's also his most unique in my opinion. It's basically a giant mech and a unicycle combined, which honestly probably only works because the tire actually matches the color scheme of the mech. Unfortunately, there is one problem with it. I've noticed that over time the arms struggle to hold up, but it's still really awesome as a mech. Topping my list is the Legacy Boulder Blaster. This takes a set I already held at a really high regard to the next level. It does a good job of encapsulating the modern Cole look while beefing up the original Boulder Blaster and perfecting the flaws the original had, creating what I believe is a completely flawless set, making it an easy decision to place at the top of my list.